Hello, race fans, and welcome to Disc Golf Daily. It is Friday, June 7th. Stay tuned after the news for a discussion about crowd size, and yes, it matters. We are the podcast that gets you caught up with disc golf news and growth in about 10 minutes. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend. Here we go. Our first news story of the day, Beaver State Fling. Ultiworld has a great article about some things to watch for at the BSF. First, Eagle McMahon. He is coming back to form, and his putt may actually be improved. He hit 4 putts outside Circle 2 over the last 3 rounds of the Portland Open, and he went 7 of 13 in Circle 2 over those last 3 rounds. If he can keep it in the fairway, he will be a contender. I agree. With Paige and Kristen not at the Beaver State Fling, wow, that was both fun and sad to say. Fun because Paige and Kristen are both in the conversation at the same time again, and sad because they are not in this specific conversation. Anyway, the Ultiworld folks think it may be Holland's day, with Own potentially playing spoiler. I'll agree with that, except I'd add Ella Hansen to the spoiler mix. I called for her at the Portland Open, and she had a little letdown after her win the week before, but I'm calling for her again. She's on the West Coast, she's near home. She's going to do good. On the men's side, they talk about a bunch of people who are playing hot or might be about to. Isaac and Ezra, Nicholas, Presnell. But this weekend is about getting back to basics on one of the most beautiful courses in the game. Gannon, Calvin, Ricky. Big controlled drives, consistent putts, and momentum. Done. Their fourth thing to watch is crowd size, with them wondering if there will be big crowds to continue the West Coast swing. We've had big crowds at OTB and at Portland. We will talk about that more after the break. The short answer, don't count on it. 2 events within an hour of each other on back-to-back weekends is going to be tough on attendance. Having said that, wow, listen to this. The TDs did do a great job on the second feature card, which has Nate Doss, Paul Ulibarri, Paul McBeth, and Ricky Wysocki. Coincidentally, the 2014 Pro Worlds final card had the exact same players and was also held at Milo. We're just 10 years removed. And on that card, there are 11 World Championships. On the feature card, there are 0, whoever those chumps are on the feature card. Overall, both courses have been shortened a little bit, with OB being a little tighter. I'm all for the shorter courses, and I'll just go ahead and say I wish the FPO course had been shortened enough to lower the par from 69 to 65, where it would match the new men's par. Email us your opinion on whether courses should stop getting longer. I'm going to make a t-shirt that says Short Courses Rule. Our number 2 news story of the day, President's Cup lineups. This comes to us from Europe. Captain Seppo Payu and Paul Ulibarri have been announced. On the European women's side, you've got Kristen and Evelina. For Team USA, Own and Missy. Let's just say all 4 of them have their work cut out for them. Wow, I would not like to try to call any of those battles. On the men's European side, you've got Simon, Nicholas, Vainio, and Jakub Semerad. And for Team USA, you've got Calvin, Gannon, Ricky, and Eagle. Okay, if Vainio and Jakub step up and play their A games, we could have a great match. Otherwise, there is just no drop-off in the abilities on Team USA. I expect Team USA will take it down for the 16th time in a row or whatever it is. Thank you to the Europeans for hosting this wonderful event. It is always fun to watch, and it's actually getting more and more fun to watch. I expect they didn't think it would take 16, 20 years for Team Europe to finally get their first win, but it's going to be fun if and when it ever happens. Our third news story of the day, 2025 PDGA proposed rule changes. Okay, the official rules of disc golf and the competition manual for disc golf events and the PDGA Tour standards go through some level of revision every year. The Rules Committee, the Pro Tour, the PDGA event and operation teams all give input, and most importantly, the ideas that are decided that might go forward, those ideas are floated to the public. We then get to comment on the changes before the rules go into effect. and the public has saved the PDGA from making several bad decisions. Let's see what might be in store for 2025. The big one, timeouts. Wow, I did not see this potential solution coming. I've heard of lots of ways to resolve the slow play issue, but timeouts in disc golf? Okay, let's see what they are talking about before we just go. All right, here's what they're talking about. Players get 30 seconds to make their throw after being given a reasonable amount of time to get to their lie. No change there. Twice per round, players can ask for a timeout. You tell the group sometime during your 30 seconds as you approach your lie that you want a timeout, and you get 1 minute to figure things out. After that, you've got 30 seconds to throw. So theoretically, if you ask for your timeout 29 seconds in, you get your 1 minute timeout, and then you throw 29 seconds later. It could be a 2 minute time between the time you're supposed to be ready and the time you do throw. I'm guessing that this would allow players to, for example, run up a hill and double check exactly where the basket is, or see where an obstacle is, or to see how the wind is outside of the woods line, or something like that. This is different than the bathroom break rule, for which you do not need to call a timeout, and they did a good job of clarifying that in the rule. If this happens, it is going to initially be very confusing, and I really can't see folks, especially at a C tier, taking out their watches and saying, okay, buddy, you've got 1 minute, and then you're back on the clock. What I do see this doing is making it easier to call people on time violations, which I think is what they're really trying to do. I personally would like to see one of those debate light timers with the scorekeeper who walks with each card on the Pro Tour. As someone steps up to the lie, the scorekeeper starts the clock. At 15 seconds, it changes from green to yellow. At 5 seconds, it changes to red. Like a great caddy, for example, would be aware of the timer and call timeout for the player or tell the player to. I look forward to us figuring this out, figuring out slow play, and feeling comfortable enforcing whatever is finally decided. I'm not sure timeouts is it, but it might be on the path to getting us there. Another big change, flex starts. This was always a funny one to me. There have been flex start events for decades, and no one seemed to care that flex starts are technically not allowed in PDGA play. Well, in 2025, they will be. Until then, be a Sergeant Schultz. I see nothing. Nothing. I should have spliced him in. Anyway, third big change, photo or video evidence is allowed in more cases. It used to be allowed, it's currently allowed for just conduct if a player's misbehaving. But now you can also use video evidence to ask the tournament director what is meant by course markings. For example, if there's a rope or paint or both, and you want to ask the TD, which of these is in effect. In my opinion, if your disc happens to be in the picture when you take it, that's all the better. You take your disc, you get the line, you get the water, and you say, hey, for example, would this disc be in? So anyway, they're expanding that. It's a good step. I don't think it's quite as far as it could go or should go, but it's a step in the right direction. Also allowing TDs to assign divisions to players without PDGA ratings. That makes sense. It should have always been in there. C tiers must have bathrooms. That's a great one. This is a great decision that will help women feel more welcome at events. From the very start of the Pro Tour, more bathrooms at and on the course has been one consistent request from women. I'm glad the PDGA is taking this step. There are a lot of other minor adjustments, but Disc Golf Daily is only ever worried about the big stuff. Let us know what you think of these proposals, and more importantly, let the PDGA know. Link in the show notes. The email link for PDGA feedback is in the third paragraph. And now it's time to have a conversation about crowd size. We all know how important crowd size is. When it's big, you brag about it. When it's small, you pretend it was big and you just lie about it. We all get it. But at Disc Golf Daily, we call it like we see it. If we started the season at chess.com with an average round, if I started at chess.com with an average round, we'd be all set with an average crowd. And if I was the DGPT, I would want that to be the minimum number of spectators we see all year. I want to grow and grow and grow. Then the Pro Tour if that's our goal, then the Pro Tour has had some pretty low numbers this year. Waco had a good showing. Austin was okay. But then 3 of the next 4 events had fairly low attendance. Texas State's, Jonesboro, and DDO all had smaller crowds, and it was noticeable. Even the PDGA Major Champions Cup crowd was underwhelming. One of the issues there is cannibalizing, where you've got, I think we had 4 events in Texas, and it is just tough to go to ask spectators to go to every single one of those events. So that's an issue. But then we got to the West Coast. OTB always has great crowds. Portland had great crowds. I would not expect the Beaver State Fling to do quite as well, with it being so close to Portland and it being a little tougher to watch. But with Nate Dawson friends on that Chase Future card, who knows? Maybe we'll get some good numbers on Friday and only grow from there. However, after the Beaver State Fling, the sky's the limit. And I expect crowd size to grow the rest of the season all the way through the end of the season. We've got the Preserve and Des Moines. They are hotbeds for disc golf, and we will have great crowds there. Ledgestone, Idlewild, D-Glow, they've all been on the tour long enough time to have strong followings, and I would fully expect very good crowds. GMC will likely see a pretty big drop-off from the Pro Worlds crowd of last year, but I expect we'll put on a great show and have a decent crowd like usual. MVP and Maple are always packed. Actually, if you want to go to that one, you should reserve your tickets now, as many levels are already sold out. So I'm not too worried about the number of spectators. I believe we are through the low point, and I don't just mean this season, I mean forever. From this point forward, I fully expect the number of people that watch disc golf in person and online will only grow. The pandemic discers that are going to play and watch less have already done so. The rest of us are here for the long run, and the Pro Tour is only going to be a bigger and bigger aspect of the disc golf world. Yes, crowd size matters, and yes, it was smaller earlier in the season than we would have liked. That storm has been weathered. We are into the second half of the season at mostly well-established events after BSF. I expect the crowds will be respectable and large once again. Having said all that, I do actually have concerns about Nevins. It is not a great place to watch disc golf. It is an exciting course, and the Pro Tour and the local organizers have done a great job making it an elite level track. I want to know what they're doing to make it even more spectator friendly. It is doubly tough because we talked about the cannibalization of BSF and Portland and Texas events. The USDGC is the weekend before, and tickets are basically the same price, $15 to $25 for general admission one-day passes. And the event is on a track, the USDGC event is on a track everyone knows and loves and knows is easy to spectate. The Pro Tour has an uphill battle to compete in the USDGC's backyard, much like the Beaver State Fling is trying to do this weekend when compared to the Portland Open. Here's hoping to make some exciting announcements in the coming months to get people excited to attend disc golf's richest and most exclusive tournament. That does it for us today. Let us know if you have any thoughts, news, or opinions. Email us at discgolfdaily@aol.com. Have fun, throw 'em straight, and hit the thin gap.